Jesus says that laws weren't given to us so that we could obey them. Rather, laws were given to us to promote our health, our well-being, and our flourishing. But unfortunately, sometimes, and I know that you know this is true, sometimes laws that were meant to help us grow and thrive and be healthy and flourish actually end up getting in the way and making things worse, causing people to be sick, causing people to live harmful and oppressive lives, and causing people to be subject to exploitation from others. That's just the reality of laws. Sometimes the very best intentioned laws, the most well-meaning policies end up having a negative effect on us. And when that happens, it ends up having a negative effect not just on those who are directly hurt, not just on those who are directly victimized. It has a negative effect on those of us who witness it and can't do anything about it or feel powerless to do something about it. In fact, there's a term for this. It's called moral distress. There's a growing body of literature around the idea of moral distress. And the whole idea of it is this, that when you are able to see somebody else suffering, when you're able to see somebody else being victimized or exploited, and something is standing in the way of you fixing that problem, it causes great moral distress in you. Now, we've been talking over the past several weeks about the idea of resilience and cultivating a spirituality of resilience. And it turns out that one of the things we've learned from this growing body of literature around moral distress is that one of the best ways to cultivate resilience is for you to learn how to act courageously in the face of moral distress. Now, I don't know about you, but it occurs to me when I read about these sorts of things that as a nation, as a people, as a society, right now at this time, we are all suffering from a kind of moral distress. When we see videos of black men like George Floyd being murdered in front of our eyes, even though it's across the country, even though it's outside of our direct ability to do anything about it, when we see a man whose neck is crushed because a knee leans on his neck for 8 minutes until he's asphyxiated, it causes moral distress in us because we can't solve that problem. And we live now in a time when, because of technology and social media, we are exposed every single day to moral harm and moral injury that we, for the most part, don't feel like we can do anything about. Some of the symptoms of moral distress include emotional exhaustion, disengagement from relationships, and a kind of distress that creates anxiety in you because you feel guilty about the fact that you can't solve this problem. I think as a nation, we are suffering under the symptoms of moral distress. And I think one of the reasons we see such an incredible upheaval of protesting and pouring out into the streets with signs and with action to speak out and to demand reforms and changes so that things like this don't happen again, so that people like George Floyd or Breonna Taylor never have to be victimized again. The reason we see such a great outpouring at this time is because we literally have to act courageously and publicly in order to regain our resilience. The ability then to take action, to do something, to say something, to make change in a substantive way turns out to be one of the most important spiritual practices that we can engage in order to become morally and spiritually resilient people in times like this. I want to encourage you to reflect this week on how you can begin to take courageous action in the face of the immoral acts that you see, whether that's in your community or in your Facebook feed or on a video that's been shot from somewhere across the country or across the world. I think it's critical to begin to ask yourself how you can take some kind of dramatic or prophetic action that's courageous, that allows you to stand for what is publicly moral and what is publicly right.